And the rocket that you see on your screen right there is the most powerful rocket ever built for human flight. And right now, as we speak, there are 4 astronauts strapped on top of it. They are in a capsule designed by Lockheed Martin. And you mentioned my special guest. That is the former acting administrator of NASA and the head of Lockheed Martin Space, Robert Lightfoot. You are significant in this whole equation, Mr. Lightfoot, because it was your organization that designed the capsule that those astronauts are sitting in right now. I can't ask them how they're feeling, but I am curious how you're feeling.
I'm excited. This is a big day. We've been waiting a while for this, and we're ready. We've done all the testing we can. The crew is ready. It's just a big day, and I think your location is perfect. You're gonna feel something today at the Chen Felt.
I am excited about that. I hear there's a wall of sound, and then a wall of energy, and you get a little bit of a rattle. We've actually hooked up the camera here in the studio to get it. Now, there are 2 qualities that I associate with America. One is space travel, exploration. The other is very large vehicles. There's a lot of SUVs here. Why is this capsule so small? Why couldn't you make it a little roomier?
Well, you really start with the end in mind, right? And what do you have to have when you come home? And so we had to bring the crew home safely. So we've got to come back through the Earth's atmosphere to do that. So you can only have you can have a certain size because you have to decelerate the things that you have to technology today. So we've built a capsule that's 57% larger than the Apollo capsule. So it's significantly bigger than that. But when you add all that up and work your way backwards from the moon back to Earth, this is what you have to lift that kind of mass to orbit.
Yeah, whatever does the job and does the job safely. One of the amazing things about your line of work, 30 years at NASA before you were acting administrator, engineer by training, is you do a lot of writing things down on paper and sketching it out, and then it goes up there and you find out if you're right. So what are you thinking about? What are you hoping to see in this next 12-hour period when they get up into orbit and that capsule, for the first time, is in real space conditions?
Yeah, I think, well, we've been in space conditions before with Artemis I, but this is the first time we've had crew. So the systems that we didn't get to check out on the Artemis I mission are what we call the environmental control and life support. So just think oxygen, air, water for the crew. So we're going to check those out. And we had them on board, but you don't have the demand signal of the humans breathing and taking in that capability. So that's the first part of this mission. If those are working well, I think we're going to be ready to go. And we've tested them as much as we can here on Earth, and now it's time to load them up and see what we can do.
So you touched on something that's important here. You say that it was up there before because we had Artemis I. Of course you did, but is this a reusable capsule, or is the capsule we see today same design but actually different parts?
Yeah, this is the same design as the one. The plan is to go reusable over time, right? We're going to have, I think, 4 after Artemis 5. This particular capsule will be reused for Artemis VI. So that's the way it's going to work, and they'll all flow through that for all the missions that we need to go do. So the whole plan was have the fleet and go fly when we need to fly, and so that's where we're heading.
So the 2 most dangerous parts of any mission are the launch and the landing, at least as I understand it.
That's
pretty accurate, right?
Pretty accurate.
Pretty accurate.
Most stressing. How about that?
Most stressing. Okay. All right. Well, we're hopefully going to witness launch. In 10 days' time, there'll be that return. On Artemis I, one of the opportunities to learn was on reentry. That heat shield, which was experiencing temperatures half that of the sun as the capsule comes in at 25,000 miles an hour, apparently, as I understand it, it wore out more than you expected. What did you do to fix it, and how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, so a couple things we've done. We decided to change the way we're coming back, the trajectory. So we did a high-stress trajectory. That first mission was, let's test the system as hard as it's going to ever see. So we hit the atmosphere, bounce, and then hit it again. So that's a pretty stressing condition.
Like a stone on the lake.
Exactly. And then, so this one, we're just going to come right in. We're not going to do that. And so so that's one of the things we changed. So it's less energy on the system, and we did a ton of testing. Because you got to remember, we had more erosion than we expected, but it was still a successful mission. Now we had to understand why we had more than we expected. So we've done a lot of testing. We've done really anchored our models better, and I'm very, very comfortable. We're ready to go.
I'm not one of those people out there who question NASA missions as a taxpayer. I'm in that 2/3 of people in polls who say I favor a return to the moon, and I think it's money well spent. But there are a lot of people who don't think it's money well spent. How do you convince them that $1 billion a launch or $4 billion, you hear different estimates, is worth it, given all the genuine problems here on Earth?
Yeah, I've heard this question my whole career, and I honestly believe what we learn when we take on endeavors like this are the things that actually propel us forward, the technologies necessary that propel us forward here on Earth. Right? This is the kind of work we need to do as a nation to stay technologically ahead of everybody, and inspire the next generation. There's going to be somebody sitting here in 30 years for a launch that was inspired by today's launch and the mission that comes forward. That's the kind of thing we need to get science, technology, engineering, and math into our kids today.
Lockheed Martin, great American company. We've got an economic argument, a national security argument. How much does national rivalry come into this? Because China has its own moon program. People don't know a lot about what they're designing, how far along they are, but I know that America wants to stay ahead. Does that factor into this?
I think it does a little bit in terms of we want to always be the one that's ahead from that perspective. I think there's a little competitive nature that comes with that. And I think for this nation, we have to show that we're still the leader from a technology standpoint.
All right, but on a scale of 1 to 10, you're mostly excited, not concerned at this moment. You slept well last night, and now it's just...
I slept good. We're super excited, and I think for me, when I see the 3 parachutes or the parachutes deploy when we come home in 10 days, I'll be able to take a big, deep breath and be proud we brought this team home and shown what the United States can do.
That's great. Well, Mr. Robert Lightfoot, head of space at Lockheed Martin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
And thank you very much for your 30 years before Lockheed Martin.
Appreciate it.
Part of the team of people that has brought the space program to where it is right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.